Before time, the birth of the 9 realms. The universe had existed for ages. The frost giants multiplied across the frozen wilderness. Ymir, the first giant, remained the oldest and most powerful living being. Yet something was missing. There were no forests, no oceans, no mountains, no sky, no stars, no place where life could truly flourish. Only endless frost and endless darkness. The 3 sons of Bor looked upon this empty universe, Odin, Vili, and Ve. Unlike the giants, the brothers did not see a completed world. They saw potential, a universe waiting to be shaped. But creating that world would demand an unimaginable sacrifice, because before a new world could be born, the old one had to die. The first decision. Odin stood upon the frozen plains beside his brothers. Before them stretched the endless realm of ice. Far away, the colossal figure of Ymir wandered through the mist. His footsteps echoed across creation itself. For countless ages, no one had questioned his existence. He had been the first, the father of every frost giant, the oldest living being in the universe. But Odin understood something that no one else did. As long as Ymir lived, the universe would remain trapped in chaos. The giants continued to spread. Nothing restrained them, nothing guided them. There would never be peace, never be order, never be a home for future generations. The brothers exchanged silent glances. No speeches were needed. Each already understood the choice before them. History would remember many battles, the wars of Thor, the coming of Ragnarok, the fall of the gods, but none would ever equal what was about to happen. The very first war had begun. The battle with Ymir. No ancient poem tells us every detail of the battle. The Viking storytellers left much to the imagination, but they all agreed on one truth. The struggle shook the universe itself. Ymir rose like a living mountain. His roar rolled across Ginnungagap like thunder. The frost giants gathered behind their ancient father. Odin stepped forward. Beside him stood Vili and Ve. The first gods faced the first giant. Fire from Muspelheim flickered across the horizon. Frozen winds howled from Niflheim. Even the great void itself seemed to hold its breath. Then the battle began. The clash echoed across creation. Ymir's strength was overwhelming. Each movement shattered enormous glaciers. Ice exploded beneath his feet. The brothers fought together. Odin's wisdom guided them. Vili's courage never faltered. Ve's calm judgment kept them united. For what seemed like ages, neither side surrendered. The universe had never witnessed violence before. Now, it witnessed its first war. At last, the impossible happened. Ymir fell. The first giant, the oldest living being, lay motionless upon the frozen ground. The first death had entered existence, the Great Flood. The moment Ymir died, something terrible happened. His blood burst from his gigantic body like endless rivers, not drops, not streams. Entire oceans poured from his wounds. The flood spread across Ginnungagap. Faster and faster, the frost giants had no time to escape. Wave after wave swallowed them. The icy wilderness disappeared beneath crimson waters. Most of Ymir's descendants perished. Only 2 giants survived, a giant named Bergelmir and his wife. The legends say they climbed aboard a hollow wooden object, often described as a great box or a tree trunk, and floated across the endless flood. From those 2 survivors, every frost giant who appears later in Norse mythology would descend. The ancient race had nearly vanished, but it was not destroyed. One day, their descendants would return and seek revenge. Building a world, silence returned. Ymir's enormous body stretched across the empty universe. The brothers looked upon the fallen giant. Most would have seen only death. Odin saw creation. He spoke quietly. "This shall become our world." Together, the brothers began the greatest act of creation ever imagined. They lifted Ymir's immense body, not to bury it, but to transform it. Every part of the giant would become something new. Every part would give life to the universe. Nothing would be wasted. The birth of the earth first. They laid Ymir's enormous flesh across the endless void. It became the land itself, the hills, the valleys, the plains that future generations would one day cross. The very ground beneath every Viking village was believed to be the body of the first giant. Then they gathered his blood. The endless crimson rivers spread outward. They filled every empty space. The blood became the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the seas that would one day carry Viking ships across the world. The waves crashing upon distant shores were once the lifeblood of Ymir, mountains and stones next. The brothers broke apart Ymir's mighty bones. Each one became a mountain. Towering peaks rose where none had existed before. His teeth, his shattered jaws, and countless fragments of bone scattered across the land. These became rocks, cliffs, boulders. Every stone lying beneath a traveler's feet carried a memory of the first giant. The world was beginning to take shape, but above it, there was still only darkness. No heavens, no stars, no sky. The sky above Odin looked upward. The empty void stretched forever. He turned toward Ymir's enormous skull. Together, the brothers lifted it high above the new earth. It became the sky itself, to keep it from falling. They placed 4 dwarfs beneath its corners. Each stood at one direction of the world, north, south, east, and west. Their names would forever mark the 4 directions: Nordri, Sudri, Austri, Vestri. Every time people looked toward the horizon, they remembered the dwarfs who held up the heavens. The clouds' one task remained. The world still looked empty, too still, too lifeless. The brothers gathered Ymir's brain. They scattered it across the sky. It drifted gently above the earth, breaking apart, changing shape, floating wherever the winds carried it. Thus, the first clouds were born. The Vikings believed every storm cloud, every mist rolling across the mountains, was formed from the thoughts of the first giant. Even after death, a part of Ymir still wandered the heavens, a world without light. The earth now existed. Mountains stretched across the horizon, oceans crashed against rocky shores, clouds drifted overhead, yet one problem remained. Everything was hidden in darkness. There was no sun, no moon, no stars, no day, no night. The world waited in silence. Odin knew that creation was not yet complete. Far away, within the blazing realm of Muspelheim, countless sparks leaped into the darkness, tiny pieces of living fire. The brothers looked toward them. An idea began to form. Those sparks could become something far greater, something that would illuminate the entire universe. But before they could bring light to the heavens, another race had to be created, a race unlike giants, unlike gods, small in stature, yet destined to craft wonders that even the gods would admire. Hidden deep within the flesh of Ymir, life was already beginning to stir, tiny creatures who would soon become the greatest blacksmiths in all of mythology. The dwarfs. The universe was no longer empty. Mountains rose where none had stood before. Oceans stretched across the newborn world. Clouds drifted through the heavens. The great skull of Ymir arched above the earth, forming the sky itself. Yet despite all this, the world remained silent. No birds crossed the air, no forests covered the land, no voices echoed through the valleys. It was a beautiful world, but it was still incomplete. Odin gazed across the endless landscape. He knew creation had only just begun. Life, in all its forms, still waited to be born. The birth of the dwarfs. As the brothers examined Ymir's enormous body, they noticed tiny creatures moving within his flesh. At first, they resembled worms, small, blind, almost insignificant. But Odin looked deeper. He saw potential where others saw only decay. The 3 brothers gathered the strange creatures together. using their divine power. They transformed them. Their tiny bodies became strong. Their hands became skilled. Their minds filled with unmatched intelligence. These were the first dwarfs. Though shorter than both gods and giants, they would become the greatest craftsmen the universe had ever known. They preferred darkness to sunlight. Deep beneath the mountains, they carved magnificent halls from solid stone. There, their forges burned day and night. The sound of hammers striking glowing metal echoed through the underground kingdoms. No one understood metal better than the dwarfs. No one could shape gold, silver, or enchanted steel with greater skill. Centuries later, they would forge treasures unlike anything the gods had ever seen. Thor's mighty hammer, Odin's magical spear, the golden ring that created endless wealth. Even the strongest gods would one day depend upon the hands of the dwarfs. The light elves and the dark elves. Not all new life emerged from the earth. As the world continued to grow, another race appeared. Graceful, beautiful, almost impossible to describe. The light elves. The Norse believed they shone brighter than the morning sun. Their homes were filled with music. Their forests glowed with gentle light. Unlike the dwarfs, who loved caves and mountains, the light elves cherished rivers, flowers, and ancient trees. Their realm became known as Alfheim, a place so beautiful that even the gods admired it. Yet not every elf shared that light. Deep beneath the earth, far below the mountains, lived another mysterious people, the Dark Elves. Some ancient stories describe them as separate beings. Others believed they were simply dwarfs known by another name. Whatever the truth, they rarely emerged into the sunlight. Their kingdoms remained hidden beneath the roots of the world, their secrets known only to themselves. The sparks of Muspelheim. Although mountains and oceans now filled the earth, darkness still covered everything. There was no sunrise, no sunset, only endless night, far beyond the horizon. The blazing realm of Muspelheim continued to burn. Every moment, countless sparks leapt from its eternal flames. Odin watched them rise. They shall become the lights of heaven. The brothers reached into the sky. They gathered the brilliant sparks. One by one, they scattered them across the darkness. Some became tiny lights. Others burned brighter than all the rest. The first stars had appeared. For the first time, the universe shimmered. Travelers would one day use those stars to cross the seas. Poets would write about them. Warriors would pray beneath them. But two great lights were still missing, the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon. The ancient Norse believed the sun and moon were not simply objects in the sky. They were living beings. The beautiful goddess Sol guided the blazing chariot of the sun across the heavens. Her brother, Mani, guided the moon through the night. Each day, Sol raced across the sky. Each night, Mani followed. But they never traveled in peace, because behind them, two terrible wolves gave chase. The first wolf, Skell, hunted the sun. The second, Hati, pursued the moon. Every sunrise, every sunset, every passing night was a race for survival. The Vikings believed that if the wolves ever caught their prey, darkness would consume the world, and that day would signal the beginning of Ragnarok. The World Tree. Now the universe possessed land, sea, sky, stars, sun, moon, yet something still connected them all. Deep within creation, a mighty tree began to grow. Its roots stretched farther than any mountain. Its branches reached beyond the heavens themselves. This was Yggdrasil, the World Tree. Nothing in Norse mythology was more sacred. It was not merely a tree. It was the heart of existence. Every realm depended upon it. Its roots reached into hidden wells of ancient wisdom. Its branches sheltered gods, giants, humans, elves, and creatures yet unborn. Every leaf whispered the stories of the universe. Every root carried the weight of destiny. If Yggdrasil ever fell, everything would fall with it. The 9 realms around the world tree, 9 great realms took shape. Each possessed its own people, its own rulers, its own destiny. High among the branches stood Asgard, the future home of the gods, connected to the other worlds by the shining rainbow bridge known as Bifrost. Far below lay Midgard, the realm destined for humankind, surrounded by vast oceans, protected from the giants by enormous walls. Beyond Midgard stretched Jotunheim, the harsh land of the frost giants. Its icy mountains remained wild and untamed. Elsewhere stood Vanaheim, home of another family of gods, masters of fertility, nature, and magic. There was Alfheim, realm of the light elves, and Svartalfheim, where dwarfs forged legendary treasures beneath the mountains. To the south burned Muspelheim, realm of fire, still guarded by Surtur. To the north remained Niflheim, the ancient kingdom of frost and mist. And beneath the roots of Yggdrasil lay Helheim, the silent kingdom of the dead. Together, these 9 realms formed the universe itself, each one connected, each one dependent upon the world tree, each one destined to play its part in the story still to come. A world without humanity. The gods admired their work. The oceans sparkled beneath the sun, the stars filled the heavens, forests began to spread across the land, animals wandered freely, birds crossed the skies, the universe seemed complete. Yet Odin remained thoughtful. Something was missing. He walked across the empty lands of Midgard. No voices greeted him, no laughter echoed through the valleys, no villages stood beside the rivers. The world possessed beauty, but no one remained to witness it. One day, as Odin traveled along the shore with his brothers Vili and Ve, they noticed 2 fallen trees lying beside the sea. One was an ash tree, the other an elm. To everyone else, they were nothing more than pieces of driftwood, but Odin saw something extraordinary. He knelt beside them, placed his hand upon the rough bark, and smiled, because from these 2 silent trees, the first humans were about to be born.